All right, part two. See, the enemy, I guess I'm hitting on a very, very hot topic because all of a sudden I ran out of a recording room. So this is continuing. I interact with hundreds of people every day, and I'm hearing a whole lot of those people telling me if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't have done it. But the problem is, they did it. And whatever the consequences are for their decision, they're going to have to die with it. No, not live with it. Whatever the consequences are for their decision, they're going to have to die with that decision. And again, all of us were warned. If you had been in the book, because you claim to love him with all your heart, all your mind, all your strength, how could you not have been in the book? Why did you trust your preacher to just give you a sermon? Why were you trusting, your neighbors and your friends and all these people who are supposed to be experts? They were men. They were men not unlike yourself. And just like you could be wrong, why didn't you understand what you should have considered? Let me say it this way. Let me say it a better way. What you should have considered is that they could be wrong. You should have considered that before you complied. But many of you were fearful. Well, I don't want to get fired. I don't want to lose my job. I need my. Then that means you had no faith. That means that you trust man over Elohim. Again, he warned you to be careful that you be not deceived. But because you chose to believe a man versus the Most High, look where you are. Think about it. Some of you guys will push it off and push it away, say, I don't care, I ain't worrying about that. You should be terrified. If you trusted them and you complied with them, you should be terrified. Oh, and I'm not trying to scare you, by the way. Because if you go look at the word terrified, just so you know, I'm reading from our book, from the history book. Look here. Go to Luke 21. Go to Luke 21. And I want you to go to verse 8. And Yeshua said, take heed that you be not deceived. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah. In other words, preaching a lie. And as the time draws near, he said, don't you believe them. Say, don't go there after them. But you shall hear wars and commotions. Be not terrified. So the word terrified is not a word to scare you. Now see, if you are listening to Elohim, no, you're not terrified. And if you're not terrified, why would you allow people to persuade you to do something? By creating a certain kind of terror. Oh, I know some of you will say, well, no. I just care about everybody else, so that's why. Really? 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 Again, I'm going to remind you. You might want to go back and read Revelation 13 and 14 if you have not been persuaded. Maybe Revelation 13 and 14 will give you the necessary strength to lock down with a strong conviction so that you are not deceived. And you didn't love your life, even if it means you had to lose it. People persuading you to go against what Yah warned you about because you might lose your job or not be able to da. No sense to keep repeating myself. It's just a form of fear to make you afraid. Go to Revelation chapter 21 and 8. If you think them making you afraid and you going about it because you're afraid that you can harm somebody if you don't listen to them, or you could be harmed if you don't listen to them. Can I take you to Revelation chapter 21? Can I take you to verse 8? He says, but the fearful. Now this is Yeshua warning every believer and non-believer, every believer and the religious, every believer and the Gentiles, every believer and the heathens. This is him warning them, warning all of them. But the fearful shall have their part in the lake of fire, which burn in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone, the second death. Does that work for you? So being afraid to lose a job or being afraid of anything that man can do to you will cause you not to make it. Your life is going to end when you die. Because after that, what you're going to receive, the penalty for listening to man versus listening to Elohim, is death. The wages of sin is death. You're going to die a second death for listening to them, for letting them persuade you, for letting them deceive you. Persuade, deceive, persuade, deceive. You are being deceived by being persuaded to follow them instead of trusting Elohim. Now I'm going to give you one more, again, Revelation 21 and 8, if you want to understand, should you be walking around here afraid because of what they're saying or what they might do to you. Heard a police officer yesterday tell me, well, I wasn't going to do it, but, when they said that, I was going to lose my pension and all that stuff, then I made the decision. So he sold his soul. He was like Esau. He sold his soul for a piece of bread. He sold his soul for money. Sold his soul to keep his job. Sold his soul. Some of you are selling your soul to stay in bad relationships, wicked relationships. You're selling your soul to stay with someone who you want to be with so bad that you will do what they want to do versus what Elohim says to do. Just thought I'd throw that little nugget in for you. Some. But a few of you are lining yourself up with the truth. Those who are walking in the truth, those who will teach you the truth, those who will tell you the truth, even though you may not want to always hear the truth, you'll stick with them because you know at the end of the day, they're about leading you down the straight and narrow path to save your soul and save their own soul in the process. Guys, it's why Yah tells us if we don't tell you, we go into hell with you. So we telling you. Amen? But I'm going to take you one more place, and then we're done. Praise Elohim. I want you to go to to the book of Jasher. Remember I told you about the earth. Chapter 2. Amen. Verse 7. See, the book is very consistent. Revelations tell you about food shortages and diseases and hunger and earthquakes and terror coming on the earth being destroyed. That's way in the end, but in the early part of the book. Jasher is just Genesis expanded. You heard me tell you that before. That's why you should have a cipher Bible, or at least the apocryphal books. But Jasher is just Genesis with more information. And don't tell me that it's not a canonized book, unless you Catholic. Then I guess you believe whatever the Pope says. But Samuel believed in Jasher, and Joshua, the prophet, believed in Jasher. So I don't know how you don't. Unless you're being deceived or self-deceiving, or deceiving yourself. But look what Jasher says. Chapter 2, verse 7. In those days there were neither sowing or reaping in the earth. In other words, there was no more people planting food. There was no more people harvesting food. With these weather patterns that they're doing right now, these droughts in California and all these places where almost 80% of your produce is coming from, you're not going to see any produce on the shelves very soon. When all of these people were told last year don't come across the border because of the plague, nobody was planting and nobody was harvesting. And a lot of what they would call illegals coming across the borders because they were doing work that most Americans did not want to do, and they didn't show up last year, and they're not here this year. And then let's not take China out of the equation. A country that provides almost 25% of all the things that you use every single day. They're shutting down their ports, their docks, their containers. So that's going to show up on your shelves. That's going to show up with all kind of things you need, including parts for your automobile, parts for your phone, etc., etc. There will be no more. He said in those days there will be nobody sowing anything and nobody reaping anything in the earth. And there was no food for the sons of men. And there was famine, and the famine or the hunger, the starvation was very great in those days. And the seed which they sowed in those days in the ground became thorns, thistles, and he said no matter what they try to do to solve this, it's not going to work. They can give you stimulus money. They can give you, free college education. They can do whatever they want to do to make things look better for you. He said nothing. Our book says nothing is going to work. No matter what they tell you, it's not going to work. They can do, again, they can take all the cows and lead all the cows to the slaughterhouse and say, now we got enough meat. I'm talking in a parable here. That's not going to work either. Because all those cows that's getting led by those shepherds are going to end up at the slaughterhouse and they're going to end up dead. Now you put two and two together and figure out what I just said. And if you can't figure it out, then it just wasn't for you to know. He says, and he goes on and says, and from the days of Adam, this was a declaration concerning the earth. A declaration means a warning and letting you know this is absolutely going to happen. It is pronounced, it is done, it is written, and it cannot be reversed. And he said, the curse of Elohim, Yahuwah, which he cursed the earth. See, Elohim is doing this. That's why man, no matter what man try to do to fix it, he's not going to be able to fix it because Elohim is doing it. So why are you believing in man? There's nothing we are going to be able to do to fix this. No man, I don't care who he is, no solution, no matter what they think, is going to work. Every time they work, going to be thorns and what he said, and bristles, and what else did he say? It would be and brimers. Means dried up stuff. He said, the curse of Elohim, which he cursed the earth. Why? On the account of the sin which Adam sinned before Yahuwah. And it was when men continued to rebel. This is the most important part. When men continued to rebel, in other words, they went against what the word of Elohim told them. He said, when men continue to rebel and transgress against Elohim and to corrupt their ways, that the earth also became corrupt. So when you see all these things dying in the water, things dying from the air, things dying from the ground, no food coming out of the earth, all of this is done because mankind rebelled against the book. And because they rebelled against the book in every way, did what they wanted to do, not what Elohim said that we must do, he said the earth became corrupt. So it's our fault. All this stuff you see dying, all these heat waves, these hurricanes, these earthquakes, these tornadoes, these fires, these floods, all of this is your fault. It's man's fault. Why? Because man chose man over Elohim. He chose to be a God to himself, to herself. And they were deceived. And therefore the earth is corrupt now. It's not going to bring its fruit forward. It's not going to bring life. It's only going to now show you its debt because you were responsible for the earth. We were told to replenish the earth, to prosper the earth. And what we did, we allowed the wicked ones to tell us, no, just get everything you can get out of the earth. Just get whatever you want. And the bigger, the better. The more, the better. Eat to the point where you're overweight. Eat to the point where your body is sick. Just be a glutton. Just don't care. Just do your own thing. Well, since you took that attitude about your life, you took that attitude about what Yah said, now Yah say, I curse the whole earth. Now the earth is not going to bring forth fruit. It's not going to bring forth food. It's not going to bring forth drinkable water. It's going to die, and you're going to die right along with it. Now the last thing I'm going to say, praise Yah, before I'm done. You better be ready out there if you're in these streets. 2 things, really 3 things. You better have stored up some food. Especially if you're not going to obey Revelation 13. In other words, if you're going to resist Revelation 13 and you're not going to do it, you're going to be of the few people who will refuse to do it even if they have to die, then you had better store up some food. You better have some food and resources. And you better have other people around you who have food and resources. And you better be able to trust them. And don't trust nobody who don't have a relationship with Elohim. I've already said that in the video before this one. Y'all wonder, how can 2 walk together except they agree? Agree with who? With Elohim. See, my sheep hear my voice. They don't follow a strange voice. They listen to me, and they listen to me only. What Elohim said through Yeshua. First, you better have you some food and other supplies. Second, you better have some ready cash. I'm done in the book. See this? When I say ready cash, you see that? You see that? That better? You see that? If you think that's 50s, you got it right. 100s, you got it right. You better be ready. And you say, well, DFG, you shouldn't be showing that, man. Somebody's going to rob you. Oh, the third thing. You better have this. So let them come and rob me. We're going to have a gay old time, as they say. Well, I shouldn't use that word. It's going to be a fiery moment. Praise God. It'll be a fiery moment. But you had better have them. You better have food. You better have available cash. And you better have a way to defend yourself. The earth is corrupt now because men rebelled against Elohim. But he said he's going to protect the elect in those days. So you're going to have to trust in him with all your heart now, my sisters and my brothers. Don't lean to your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Elohim. In other words, constantly talking and praying. And he will direct you to safety. He will keep us safe and protected. And if we die, so what? We're not going to die twice. These filthy demons, devils among us, the dead among us, they're going to die twice. But we're not going to die the second death. Don't forget, Revelation 21:8. That being said, DFG, talk to you soon. Bye now.